Hello, beautiful friends. This is a presentation that serves as an invitation to my launching of my InStasis Training Academy. But first, I want to tell you, last night I heard about this idea called the wisdom barrier. And it is said or prophesied by off-planet beings that when the collective of humanity reach this wisdom barrier point, things will drastically start changing. And they say that only a half of 1% of humanity needs to reach this point. Over the years of seeing clients for life coaching, timeline therapy, and sound healing, I've kind of universalized some of my ideas and teachings. And one of the stories that I'd like to introduce to you today is this little parable of the soul. So, just for a moment, imagine that there was a soul who asked God, "Who am I?" Imagine for an instance that the soul is like a drop of water in the ocean and God is the ocean. So again, let's say the soul asks God, "Who am I?" And God looks at the little soul and says, "You are love." "I'm love?" "Yes, you're love." And the soul sits with this a bit and then asks, "And you? Who are you?" And God says, "Well, I'm love too. You are love, I'm love, we're all love." The soul now feels deeper into this idea and are quiet for a few moments. And then the soul says sheepishly, "What is this love? I don't understand this love, but we are." So now God takes a moment and then he says, "Well, if you want to know what love is, then go down to earth and experience what love is not, so you may know what love is." Now this may be a simple parable, but notice you may feel a relief, a slight shift, a curiosity surfacing to know more. So let's continue for a moment longer with this parable of a little soul as a drop of water in the ocean. And remember the cycle of water, that all mountains, springs and rivers eventually end up in the ocean. Now imagine some of these rivers bending and twisting, making turns to the left and to the right, never flowing in a straight line directly into the ocean. Can this be a way of witnessing our lives flowing in directions we don't always understand? But we can have a knowing that eventually we will merge back with the source of where we come from. Now I'd like to introduce you to the narrative that has been imprinted on my soul over the course of my life. I studied interior architecture back in the year 2000. We had a very intensive art history program that lasted into our third year. Throughout this time, we often saw saints and other holy people painted with halos around their heads. And at that time, I didn't make much of it. It was only later, when I was traveling, visiting sacred sites around the world, that I came across more and more images with these circles and people immersed in them, especially with the ancient religious art of Buddhism, what they refer to as the rainbow light body. So later on, I started receiving more and more keys that there is something very, very significant being preserved in these ancient artworks, and that it might hold the very key we are all looking for in order to fulfill our lives with peace, with prosperity, to be able to live in the present moment and access all our gifts and our ability to show up as seekers on the path of love. But you may notice that many of the images on this presentation is different versions of the archetypal wheel of astrology. But it is so much more than that. It reveals the deepest aspect of our quantum physical nature and how we take in information from our environment and then take the right action to unlock the multidimensional body. What we will be investigating in the training is my years of experience researching the 7 chakra model and how it has been fundamental in the success of my life coaching and healing practice. The chakras, or energy vortexes, holds the first key to recover health and well-being and come into harmonic resonance. It also allows for the emotional body to come back online. the way my program guides you through this process is by understanding how we take in information and filter it so that we can act in every moment to the best of our present moment ability, with the inner guidance system back online and within our heart coherence field. We take in millions of bits of information per second, and our unconscious minds are highly developed processors to shift through the information and inform us of a next right response. But this processor can become corrupt. Humans have been through so much trauma, and this trauma is stored in our bodies and energetic bodies. It creates a distortion in our field, an incoherent state that makes us incapable of making the right decisions. In fact, most of our decisions are made from past unresolved trauma memories. Some of you may know of Louise Hay, who first created a list of diseases and illnesses that form from these stuck trauma memories in our field. In fact, many thought leaders these days advocate that 98% of all illnesses have root in the mental and emotional body. This is the idea that disease of the physical body started way back as a heavy emotional vibration in our field. One such thought leader is Caroline Myers, and she drew a direct correlation to the disease and the chakra where the trauma is held in. Together with Eileen McCusick, the founder of Biofield Tuning, the sound healing modality I practice, we now know and understand exactly how our bodies store trauma and how to heal it so that the client experiences permanent release. Now, when we talk about the field, the aura or the turic field, you may ask, where is the proof? And this is the next key we will be addressing in the training. This is the idea of the electric universe theory. Our science are only addressing our world from a biochemical perspective, only researching that which can be seen and measured. But the electric universe theory tells us that we are bioelectrical. We have a heart that pumps, that puts out an electrical field. Years back in the 70s, we were already introduced to this idea with Kirlian photography that was able to photograph the electric field around all living things. The key here is not so much that we are electric, but that there is a fourth state of matter. Wait, what? Yeah, you will only learn 3 states of matter, right? Solids, liquid, gas. Now, remember we said that the ancient religious art were able to safeguard the ancient mysteries in the artworks? This is how far our culture have gone to suppress our understanding of how powerful we really are. Because there is a fourth state of matter. It's called plasma. Plasma holds the key to understand the unseen, the information that is stored in our mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. And now carefully look at this slide. Notice the sun? Bingo, the next key. The sun is the biggest source of information streaming to our consciousness, bathing our being in information streaming through the calibration of the sun, from the central sun, the great central sun, and beyond. So here we step out of our viewpoint of our own solar system, and immediately we are in the terrain of a universal. Just like the Mayan predicted with their long count calendar all those years ago. Look closely at the top wave of conscious evolution. It's called universal. This is where we became co-creators with the rest of the universe. That happened in 2012. And the Mayan will offer you a map of our history like no other. This part of the training will be investigating the 9 levels of evolution of consciousness as laid out by the Mayans, and also the Palladian model of the 9 dimensions. This is the InStasis Coach program. The 3-day Wayshowers program takes you on a journey of the 7 chakra model, and in the Coach program, we dive deeper into our 9 chakra evolution. Now, we look into the theories of creation, our soul purpose, and our service to the world. Socrates instructed, know thyself, but we can only really know ourselves if we truly understand where we come from. Understanding ourselves as part of a bigger story of the universe fills us with a sense of peace, with love, and with a greater degree of courage to act as agents of change. This brings us to the next key, the Chiron archetype, what we call the wounded healer. This is the marker of our times, the archetypal pattern that propels humanity through the stage of our conscious evolution. As the wounded healer finds the path to his or her own healing, in turns, they support others to heal similar wounds. If we wait for the moment when everything is supposed to be perfect, we miss the game plan completely and just become stuck in a loop of recurring lessons and challenges. Through this training program, we are addressing the alchemy of relationships and through our own learnings and integrated wisdom, assist others to move through their challenges with greater ease and grace. Through our work with the archetypal patterns that form the lenses of a wheel that filters the information, we learn the language of our unconscious mind, we learn to read the limiting belief patterns of our clients, we become intuitive wayshowers, such as Hermes, the messenger of the gods, and Iris, the rainbow goddess, that delivers divine insight and wisdom. During the coaching program, we will dive deeply into the victim archetypes that offer us the greatest opportunity to partake in the current mutation referred to as the gene key 55, where we completely liberate from victim consciousness and with fortified faith and complete trust access the level of freedom our souls are searching for. The archetypal patterns are dual in nature, and when we map the tapestry of a challenge for our clients, we assist them to complete the cycle of learning and level up to greater and greater degrees of reclaiming back their authentic, unique selves. As an InStasis Wayshower and coach, you will always be able to use the techniques of timeline collapsing and soul fragment retrieval to heal the root cause of a wound. By reading the archetypal patterns playing out in your client's story, you will recognize the wound and be able to guide your client through a root cause release so that the shift is permanent. InStasis is describing the state of stasis. It is like you are on the bus of life, so to speak. You arrive at the bus stop and momentarily stop your life and enter into a sacred container of InStasis where your wayshower and coach holds a space for you to clearly see through the confusion to the underlying root cause of your self-sabotage, depression, or anxiety. Afterwards, you get back on the bus, transformed and ready to continue with your life. It is within this in-between space where we as wayshowers and coaches address the two fundamental struggles that most people cannot find a roadmap through. Understanding stimulus, meaning what is happening to them, and response, meaning understanding why they respond in a certain way. When we talk about being conscious, we mean that our present moment awareness can analyze what is happening to you and how to best respond. Life is essentially made up of constant decisions to be made. When we make a decision from fear, insecurity, or not knowing, we cut ourselves off from our inner guidance, our inner compass, wanting to direct us. Not taking action or avoiding to take action is also a decision, and therefore it is essential that we come into a deep understanding of what is happening in our immediate environment and how to respond effectively. Effectively, so that we can match our desires and needs and move towards that in a calmer, peaceful state of flow and support. This is the sacred work of InStasis Wayshower and Coach. After each session, we offer our clients greater and greater ability to stay present. It's in the present where the presents are, the gifts of insight, understanding, wisdom, love, compassion, joy, and vitality. We assist our clients to effectively decondition the mind from fear and insecurity and bring the emotional body back online, and thereby our clients come back into alignment with a heart coherence field where they are automatically guided and supported through their feeling feedback response mechanism, where they can act in trust that what they are guided to do is automatically in service not only to themselves but also to everyone else. The heart coherence field can reduce stress drastically. It is the key that brings back the inner compass, the inner guidance that leads us into our futures with ease and grace. It is through this heart-coherent state that we become the ethical co-creators the Mayans predicted to emerge after 2012. It is in the connection with Earth and all other in the heart-coherent state that we dream our new Earth into reality. This is the fifth dimension as described through the Palladian model. It's the state where the heart and mind comes into balance, where the yin and yang, the dual state of linear third-dimensional space-time, transcend into the unity field of universal co-creation. It is the birthright of every human on this planet. It is our original blueprint of abundance. The Mayans knew this. The ancient culture spoke around the fire of this return. The saints of hundreds of years ago drew sacred art in ecstatic trance. The wise men and women of our history described it in the ancient texts they left behind. It is all there for those who have eyes to see. Join me on the 22nd of July in Playa Reina in Panama as we launch this Kickstarter training program and come together as the change agents of our time, alchemizing history and trailblazing together into our future.